The following is part one of a two-part series with the Montcalm Economic Alliance and The Right Place.
Welcome to the Discover Montcalm podcast, where we're going to take a look at the communities, the businesses, the attractions, and the people that make up Montcalm County. Here is your podcast host, Dwayne Reed.
Hello, and welcome to this edition of the Discover Montcalm podcast. I'm Dwayne. I'm your host and the producer. I have Jacob Begard with me from The Right Place, and we're going to talk about economic development and maybe get into some other rabbit trails that we don't know what's going to happen yet. So, Jacob, thank you for taking the time. I know it's taken us a few times to kind of go back and forth to get our schedules aligned, so to speak. I want to start with a question that's more about you.
Okay.
Who has had the most influence on your life and why?
That's a good question. Off the bat, I'm going to go with my Uncle John. He is someone that I've always really looked up to as a person and as a professional. I'm a first-generation college student, so really kind of not necessarily tracking myself against him and his career and his path, but definitely using that as my inspiration for where I want to go.
You grew up in the Mount Pleasant area?
Yep, yeah, Union Township, just north of the city of Mount Pleasant.
Okay, you told me that you grew up there. You were familiar with Montcalm County because you played some...
Yep, I played rocket football against a couple of communities growing up.
So you're well aware of what's going on, and that brought you down, I take it was Grand Valley?
Yep, Grand Valley for my undergrad and graduate.
Okay. And that kind of led you into this wonderful world of economic development. Can you tell us a little bit about how that path led you to where you're at now with The Right Place?
Yeah, so just growing up in Mount Pleasant, always was interested if there was a company or a business or a retail space that went open, especially in the downtown areas. And my dad was a welder growing up, so that was something that I always had front of mind, was manufacturing and things like that. So in a roundabout way, I ended up in economic development because it was something I've been interested in, not knowing that it was a field growing up.
Okay.
Studied political science in my undergrad, thought I wanted to work in campaigns and politics, try that out for a little bit. Fun, but not my cup of tea, at least not for a career. So in graduate school, I had to fulfill an internship requirement because I'm a pre-career student, according to how Grand Valley labels that for their students. But I had probably 10 to 15 internships saved, and I saw the business development internship with The Right Place open up. They have a pretty wide reach through Region 4 and 8 counties here in West Michigan, so I thought that was a terrific opportunity to get my feet wet in that field, and spent 6 months as their business development intern, touring all throughout the 8 counties that they have a presence in, and then been in Montcalm full-time since January.
January 2023. So it's going well?
Yes, yeah. Just hit my 10-month mark earlier this week. So.
You moved into the Greenville area.
Yep.
So now you're a Montcalm resident.
Yes, I'm a Greenvillian, if that's what we call them.
You can come up with whatever you want. The Right Place. For those of you that have heard about the Montcalm Alliance, the Montcalm Alliance became The Right Place. Is it still called? What's the correlation between the name and The Right Place?
Yeah, so both and, I would say. The Right Place has worked a little bit with the Montcalm Alliance before they went into a contractual agreement.
Okay.
But since 2015, The Right Place has had a 2 to 5 year contract in place with Montcalm County specifically. And so essentially I work for The Right Place, but I represent the Montcalm Economic Alliance here in the county.
Okay. I knew Franz really well. He did a lot in his tenure of, he was very pro-community, very pro-things, and, God rest his soul, but, it's, you have what you have, and now it's time to, keep moving.
Yep.
Describe The Right Place. For those that are like, okay, I think I kind of maybe sort of heard about it. Can you wrap up what The Right Place is in kind of a nice little bow?
Yeah, I'll do my personal best. So there's the MEDC, the Michigan Economic Development Corporation. They're the statewide economic development agency for the entire state of Michigan through the state. But next to them, The Right Place is actually the largest economic development agency in the state. When Governor Snyder was in office, he made 10 prosperity regions. West Michigan falls in Region 4. There's 13 counties total. The Right Place is based in Kent County in downtown Grand Rapids, but then they also have 7 agreements, including with Montcalm County, so 8 counties total. So 8 of those 13, they have a good spread there, and providing economic development services in the form of business retention visits, community building in the terms of grant writing, different things like that to help municipalities with parks, trails, different things of that nature. And when our new CEO and president came on board, Randy Thalen, a couple of years ago, he really doubled down on 3 new strategic principles of people, place, and prosperity. So that's what we like to base everything around, really using people as that focus that, it, so to speak, if you build it, they will come. So really using people first and then building the industry and the community around that.
What does economic development mean to you?
Economic development to me, I'm going to steal a definition that I heard last week from Joe Borgstrom from Place in Maine. That's a consulting agency here in the state of Michigan, but he works all over. And he said last week that economic development is local wealth creation. So that's what I like to think of it as, is doubling down on what an area is doing well, whether that's business and industry or whether that's the quality of life and the lifestyles that folks like to live, and doubling down on what you do well and just making sure that there's new opportunities to diversify.
So every day's like an adventure.
Yes, it certainly is. Yeah.
I mean, because there's so much that could fall within economic development.
Yep.
What does an average day look like for you?
So right now, this is a pretty good example. The month of October is one of our blitz months. So in a given year, calendar year, I have between 35 and probably 45, maybe up to 50 visits that I'll do throughout the county. Okay. A lot of that is in Greenville because that's where the most industry and business is, but I'll also spend some time in Howard City, Stanton, Sheridan, Lakeview, really working in a few core industries, manufacturing, health sciences, and increasingly information and technology. And within manufacturing as well, that includes anything from office, furniture manufacturing, medical device manufacturing, to food processing and agribusiness as well, which has a strong presence here in Montcalm.
Anything that builds our community.
Exactly.
Now, does the right place focus more on more of that manufacturing side of things as opposed to retail, or is it kind of, what's your baseline?
Yeah, so from the right place perspective, definitely they focus more so on industry. Think, big numbers of jobs, industrial parks, things of that nature. But in the partnership counties, I think it's a bit more of a both-and situation. If there's opportunities, there's a My Pitch program. I'll talk a little bit about that in more detail. It's our entrepreneurial pitch competition. Mm-hmm. So something like that can help fill a retail space in a small downtown, but then also working with municipalities to retain and attract more jobs, whether that's from a business expansion standpoint of businesses and industries that are currently in the county, mm-hmm. or attracting new ones to the area.
We're going to take a small pause now to thank our sponsors, and when we come back, I want to dive into where do you get your funding and how is that funding being used. Mm-hmm. So stay tuned. We'll be right back with more from the Discover Montcalm podcast. We'd like to thank our sponsors. West Michigan Technology and Design Solutions is your perfect choice for managed IT, website design, website hosting, and consulting services. WMTDS.com, 616-485-7600. Custom vinyl signs and Busy Bee Embroidery and Gifts is your one-stop shop for embroidery, vinyl, screen printing, and engraving needs. Go to cbsdbusybees.com or call 989-261-7446. And DW Video, your film and videotape specialist. They design websites and business videos that tell and share your story. dwvideo.com, 231-250-9624. Now, back to our podcast. Welcome back to the Discover Montcalm podcast. My name's Dwayne, and I'm here with Jacob from The Right Place, and we're kind of talking about economic development. Don't forget, on Discover Montcalm, You can check us out on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube at Discover Montcalm Podcast. You can also go to discovermontcalmpodcast.com. Check out all our episodes. We've been doing this for a little over a year now, and we keep going because we want to tell Montcalm County's story. Before we went to break, everybody wants to know, I shouldn't say everybody, but I kind of want to know, where do you get your funding, to support the right place and to support the economic growth of the area?
Yeah, so there's kind of that umbrella of the right place, and they have that contract with the county. But something that I definitely want to highlight for the Montcalm Economic Alliance is our funding is local, and it stays local. It's not something that goes back up to the right place and is a corporate investment or anything of that nature. It's a local investment into the work that I do every day and the work that my board does every day. So as far as I'm aware, the Montcalm Economic Alliance has always been organized as a 501c6. So we're a membership-based organization. And being that we're an economic development organization, our primary focus is business and industry. So we do have a combination of public and private donation, or not necessarily donations, but investment from municipalities, from local area businesses, from healthcare systems. Really, you name it, we probably have somewhere in an investment in that level.
Okay.
So,
in your past 10 months, and I know things will change, but has there been one cool success story that you can think of, that you've been part of, that you're going, yeah, this is great? Is that, and can you share it?
That's a good question. I honestly think it's still something that's upcoming. So we have, in a couple of weeks, we'll be having our first Developer Day program. This was a program that started last year with the right place and was solely focused in Kent County. But this year we received some grant dollars from the MEDC to regionalize that into those county partners. So we're going to have ours in a couple of weeks, and we're going to focus on the M46 and the US 131 corridor in the county. So Reynolds Township, Cato Township, the village of Lakeview, the village of Howard City, and Pearson Township as well. So the goal of that program is to bring developers, real estate lenders, different folks in that community, bring them into these communities, let them see some of the properties that we have available for development and redevelopment.
Sure.
Especially with the loss of the Kelsey Hospital in the last couple of months here in Lakeview, we're hoping that we can find a silver lining for the redevelopment of that property and to create new jobs and more housing in the areas. There's
Always a change in the landscape, so to speak. I kind of saw the same thing happening with Electrolux when they went out of business, and how people around the county just kind of stepped up, from Montcalm Community College to the different townships to, just hardworking people, businesses. And, though it's a big loss, what's on the horizon? And I think that is something that we have to look at, that things change.
For sure.
It may not be what we want, we may not like it, but we have to kind of deal with it, roll our sleeves up, and that's kind of what the right place is here for, is to kind of set up these programs. So, we have all these properties along M46 and down 131 and over in the Panhandle area here. What else is available? How, we may not replace that aspect, but we're going to add others.
Yep.
That's exciting, and we're recording this in the first part of October, and I never know when these are going to go out. But you said October is a month that you normally do a big push to get with all of your people. And I know that you have, in October, you're going to do what's called a My Pitch. What is that?
Yeah, so My Pitch, we are in our third annual year of that. We partner with the Ionia County Economic Alliance and then a couple of the local area chambers, Belding, Ionia, and the Greenville Chambers. So those are our three big partners to help us push that program out. But this is something, again, that we, between the two counties and the chambers, we raise money through the form of donations and sponsorships, and we'll take essentially however many pitches are submitted. There's a selection committee that whittles that down into a certain number of finalists. It could be anywhere from 3 to 6 or anything in between, really whatever that selection committee deems good final programs that they want to see the entrepreneur and the small business owners pitch that at a live event. So think a localized version of Shark Tank.
Sure. I was kind of picturing that. You've got your judges up there, and things are going to, you just got to get out and pitch it.
Yep.
And I think that's great because it allows these places, these people, to share their vision of what they're trying to do.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the people that set up for this, if you missed the one in October, or this doesn't get out until November, sorry you missed it. Check out their website. They'll be able to, bring you up to date on when they do other things. You said the third annual.
Mm-hmm.
You weren't around for the first two.
Yep.
But what were some of the successes from those that maybe you've heard about, and how are those people doing now?
Yeah, so the first two would have taken place. First one definitely in the COVID pandemic. The second one just on the tail end.
Mm-hmm.
So in terms of submissions, there was a lot of submissions as folks were at home for various different purposes, whether that was between a job, just maybe took the time to say, you know what, I'm interested in trying my own hand at something.
Mm-hmm.
So definitely a high number of submissions those first 2 years. Those first 2 years were also hosted at Candlestone. So I was happy to bring it in to Montcalm County this year for our program. Looking forward to expanding that again next year. One of my favorite things about the program, though, is all the finalists, whether you place first or fifth, you're going home with a cash prize.
Something that they can take their idea and try to push it forward.
Yep.
And are these more manufacturing style? Like, I got a product and I want to pitch a new thingamajob, whatever that thingamajob might be. Is that the types of pitches that are normally at these things?
A bit more focus on small business and maybe commercial and retail type industries.
Okay.
So we really like to say it could be anything from an idea that you and your buddies had on a bar napkin to a full-fledged, you have a business plan and you're looking to scale your small business. So anything from just a pure idea to, hey, we've seen a little bit of traction, some of this prize money might help us expand and go to that next step.
Because that happens once a year, if there's somebody out there that's hearing this, you don't have to wait till the pitch contest.
Correct.
How do they get in touch with you? What's your phone number? And how do they reach out to you to say, hey, I got an idea, can you help me?
Yep, yeah. So the Montcalm Economic Alliance, we do have a Facebook page. We have a LinkedIn page as well. My email and my phone number are both on there.
Can you share that? Because this is also an audio podcast.
Yes, yeah.
So please, if you could give your phone number a couple times and your email address.
Yep, yeah. So my phone number is area code 989-330-6443. And then my email is my last name, Bigard, and then the first initial of my name, J. So Bigard, J at rightplace.org.
And you can go to rightplace.org, and there's probably a link there to all the different places like the Montcalm Alliance, and they can get your information there.
Yep, yeah, they can either go to the staff page or scroll to the bottom of the Right Place website, click on Montcalm, and then my contact name and info will be at the end of that.
This concludes part 1 of the Montcalm Economic Alliance and the Right Place. Stay tuned next week for part 2.
Connect and subscribe to Discover Montcalm Podcast at discovermontcalmpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube at Discover Montcalm Podcast. To be featured in an upcoming show, contact Dwayne at 231-250-9624. Remember to subscribe at discovermontcalmpodcast.com.